Today I'm taking a detailed look at Dr. Stretch and Pull's Torture Factory, one of the greatest Lemax Spooky Town buildings of all time. Guys, what's up? It is Doug, and welcome to a very special edition of Spooky Villages. I am reviewing another classic Lemax Spooky Town piece, and I have one of the greatest of all time here, the legendary Dr. Stretch and Pull's Torture Factory. Let's do a quick around here. And this box, by the way, on it, that it came in this style of box, is different than a lot of the buildings that you would see. This is more like they've been doing this style with the facades, if you've seen, with the open front. But if we go around here, this box has it's seen better days, but it's still intact and everything. Foam inside is still, doing the job and protecting it. And so Dr. Stretch and Pull's Torture Factory was an immensely important building for Lemax Spooky Town as it came out in 2004, and it was one of the ones that ushered in kind of the golden age of Lemax Spooky Town. But also, Dr. Stretch and Pull's Torture Factory was my first Lemax Spooky Town piece. And, this piece is my origin story. I got mine back in 2014 or so when I decided to get into the hobby. But yeah, Dr. Stretch and Pull, I knew whenever I saw this one, that's what I had to have to get into the hobby. And, a note about this piece here in particular, I want to give a huge, huge thank you to my friend Kelly for loaning me this piece here, because I actually sold mine years ago, stupidly. I really regret selling that. Although I have to say mine mechanically was starting to fail. It was extremely loud. If you watch my blood bank review I did a couple videos ago, that was insanely loud. It was like that, and some things weren't working right on it. So I want to give a huge thank you to Kelly for loaning me one. And this one has a working guillotine on it. The early production ones had a working guillotine. The later production ones did not. So again, huge thank you to my friend Kelly for, she gave me this one. Basically, I have it kind of on an indefinite loan, and huge thank you to her. So really quick here, guys, something extra of note here. If this piece wasn't special enough to me already because it's the first one that I ever got and started my collection, in 2020, Lemax, to celebrate the 20th year, the 20th anniversary of Spooky Town, they sent some gifts out and some other things to some different people, and they actually they asked me to verify my shipping address at the time. Didn't say what they were shipping, and so they wound up, when I opened the box, I couldn't believe what showed up here. And this is the coolest piece of memorabilia that I have as far as anything Halloween Village goes. It's an actual framed reproduction of the original architectural renderings from the designer, with a note from it, which was so kind of him and from Lemax, and just a note there, thanking me for the support, over the years, which that was really nice, and I absolutely love that. And of course, it looks wonderful, and you can actually see it here. It's off the edge here behind my shelving. I actually keep it right on my workbench, which is over there. I keep it right next to there and display it over there. So I thought that'd be fun to finally get to talk about that on camera. So I'm not going to do an unboxing here. It's kind of unwieldy, and you can see into the box here, but just as an FYI, this one here, and a lot of them did, power supply here. It's kind of a different looking power supply. The connector is not, but the back of it's a bigger power supply for it. So, all right, let's get into the box. Guys, here is Dr. Stretch and Pull's Torture Factory. Let's go around here really quick here. And something here to note on the back. This is a heavy piece, by the way, here. You can hear it sliding here on the wood of my workbench. But back here, this has a different kind of power supply, or not power supply, but a turn-on switch. The power supply it runs off of is the normal, like, Lemax plug, but this one turns on a little bit different than some other, a lot of other buildings now. You don't see this anymore, but it's a wheel here. Turn it on, just like normal, though. The control that when they're on the little cord and they're off. Same thing, controls the volume and the on and on. You can also turn off sound completely with it. With this one, and in the previous Dr. Stretch and Pull's Torture Factory I owned, sometime you got to tap this a little bit to get it to go. If you turn it on, you think it's not working, or if it won't turn on. If you give that a little knock, it can knock it right, and then it'll be working fine. So that one is the same here. And it's fairly common on that type of switching setup here. Let's go around here. Man, what a monstrous piece here. Bring it back here a little bit. So, Dr. Stretch and Pull's Torture Factory here. This is high-end Spooky Town. This is the one that, you know, I would imagine that Dr. Stretchable probably launched a lot of collections over the years. You know, it came out in 2004, and let's talk specifically about that because the first year it was out, actually, this guillotine here is working. And I'll put up here on the screen here, you can see some cycles of the guillotine working on it. You can't really see the guillotine that well in the dark, just an FYI. So that's why I've got it lit up here so you can see it operating. But it goes down, pulls it up, falls down, and it's not super quick when it does it. You know, like it doesn't repeat itself like machine gun style, which is nice, and it makes a loud click. But the first year that it came out, they had these working guillotines. The ones after that, apparently, till it retired a few years later, that one, they didn't anymore. They didn't have the working guillotine. So if you have one with a working guillotine, that means you have an early production one. And apparently the mechanics on that were finicky. I'm assuming that's why they took it away. I will say the one thing though, you know, in the dark, as I mentioned, you don't really see the guillotine. So someone who's going to run this display or run this piece at night primarily, you don't really miss that, the guillotine not working as much just because you can't really see it. We'll talk about it lit up here in just a moment, and it looks wonderful lit up. It's some of the details on it here, though. I love, I mean, there's so many little details here. I love how macabre this piece is. Now, I just talked about the butcher shop, which is a very dark piece. This is a dark piece as well. There's a lot of dark parts to it, I should say, because of course you have like a working guillotine, you know, with heads, with a bucket of heads, bloody heads. I love these executioners. You have different torture devices here. You also have someone here on the wheel. By the way, I did want to say here, this one actually, this door normally will open and shut. It does not open and shut on this piece. Here's the funny thing with that though. I actually prefer it because I had one that it did work on it and it was kind of noisy in the cycle, and really it doesn't need that. So I just wanted to give an FYI when I show it animated here in just a moment. This animation is not working on it here, but going back to some of the details on it though, of course, I love the big sign here, and it's got these are lit up here where it says torture. And I love how it's got a head like in a vice here being squeezed. And that, so in talking about the theme of it, yes, there's a lot of darkness here, but the whole, you know, the theme of a torture factory itself is pretty silly and absurd. And so there's a lot of dark humor here. And I personally, this is like the perfect balance for me. I like when there's a lot of darkness for it. But there's a lot of levity here too. And I think that's when Spooky Town, especially classic Spooky Town, is really, you know, firing all cylinders, is when they can have the darkness, but also some levity for it. The butcher shop, which I just talked about, is an awesome building, but there's not much levity there, man. That is a horror piece. And I think it's great that pieces like that exist. That's not really a critique against, you know, for it or against it. I just like how the Dr. Stretchable's Torture Factory is pretty absurd, but also dark. I just love that. And, you know, before I show it lit up here again, this is a big piece and it is very striking. Even when it is not lit, when it's just sitting there, it's a conversation starter. And I love that about it. But all right, enough talking about it. Let's show you what it looks like lit up. As you can see here, guys, Dr. Stretchable's Torture Factory is a stunner. I love how much light this gives off. And you can see here when you have a backdrop, it actually helps kind of bounce the light, like the lateral light that's coming out of the side windows, to make it look even more, you know, menacing. I love that. Of course, the star of the show, though, up front is that, you know, the sign that says torture. I mean, that looks wonderful. And I love how the skull up there, you know, has those bright green light, you know, lit eyes. Of course, inside the internal scenes, those look great too, lit up. And I love the guy rotating there on the front door. And it just works great, all the stuff. I also love how there's those gears turning up there. And I really, really like how it kind of brings everything together. I just love the animation that's going on here, and I love the lighting. Lemax did a wonderful job. Note on the fit and finish on this piece, if you can see here, hopefully you can, it's focused okay, there is definite glue you can see on these figurines, and there's a lot of like glue glopping all around the place on this one. You also have some up here on the sign. You can see this little finish issue. And there's a couple little finish like blems around it. Again, I've seen a few of these pieces in person, and I've had two of them in my, you know, my ownership or my care, whatever you want to call it. And they've all though had, you know, a lot of glue and other things on them. That was just kind of, I guess, how this piece was. They really must have not wanted those figurines to go anywhere. And so that's just something to note here. The fit and finish on it, isn't like perfect by any means. And a lot of them weren't. As far as the actual finish, though, I think it looks fantastic. I really like the use of the muted colors. I think it looks great. So theming for Dr. Stretchapul's Torture Factory. So that could maybe be a little bit trickier because, of what it is here. It really looks like a castle. I mean, I think it would work in a castle theme. And it also would work in a town theme, I suppose, because I guess, it's well, not a store, but it's like a business, I suppose, which is hilarious in saying it. Obviously, this is more of a monster town building than something realistic. It's hard to kind of imagine how this, realistic building could have been transformed into this, like, decorated. So this is way more of a monster town. This would also work great in a graveyard because it kind of looks like a big, like, mausoleum or something. You could get away with that. Putting gravestones around it and like a cool, like a fence. I think it would work really well for that. I view it more as a castle piece, though, just personally. Here's the thing, though, with Dr. Stretchapul's Torture Factory. I'd argue this piece is fun enough, is cool enough, has enough vibe that it really doesn't matter where you put it. I mean, frankly, you can put kind of whatever around it. And I know that's maybe a cheating thing to say, but there are very few pieces that can get away with that. And this is one of them. This piece is such a conversation starter. If you have this out, it's almost a guarantee when somebody walks over, that is going to be, what they ask about. It's like, hey, what is this? Well, that's going to be the piece that draws the eye because the theme of it is so crazy and it's so big and it's so visually striking. A quick note on the soundtrack, guys. I think this one actually has a really fun soundtrack. It's not something I would play all the time, but I love how it talks about what's going on here. So I really do have, an affinity for this soundtrack in particular. And as far as the sound of the building goes, actually, I'm happy to say this one is actually fairly quiet. My old one, as I mentioned earlier, was very loud, like the butcher shop review I did, where it was so loud you really almost couldn't run the piece in a display because it was just overpowering. This one, the motors and everything actually run, fairly quiet, especially for, a piece of this vintage. Yeah, guys, I just love Dr. Stretchapul's Torture Factory. And in 2004, when this came out, this really was one of the pieces that kicked off the golden years of Lemax Spooky Town, from 2004 to 2009-ish, really. And that's what I consider it. That's what a lot of folks, I think, consider it. Kind of, it's debatable when it ends, but I think pretty much uniformly, everybody agrees that 2004 is when it started. And Dr. Stretchapul's Torture Factory is a huge part of that. It's just, it demands attention. It looks wonderful. It's dark. It's a little absurd, a little silly. It is Lemax Spooky Town at its best. So that's Dr. Stretchapul's Torture Factory, guys. I looked up the previous review I did on this here in 2017, and it is crazy how many reviews I have done since then. I actually don't know the total amount of Lemax Spooky Town reviews that I have done over the years, especially including this year. I think after this year, though, it's going to be over 150 pieces, and which is pretty crazy. And the Dr. Stretchapul's Torture Factory, though, again, this is like my origin story, my piece. So it's a very special one. I want to thank Kelly for she's kind of giving this one to me on indefinite loan, letting me display it if I want to and everything. So I really appreciate having that back in my collection. Let this be a warning to you, by the way, folks, if you're out there and you're a new collector. Be careful selling those early pieces that you think you might not want, especially if it's something valuable like this. For me, it's not even the value of the piece necessarily, even though these are in good condition, worth a good amount of money these days. But the nostalgia for me of, again, this was my first piece, and that started everything. So without Dr. Stretchapul's Torture Factory, I don't know if there's a Spooky Villages. And it's really fun, though, that because of Dr. Stretchapul, at least I can trace a straight line to it. I mean, would there be another piece that maybe I would have gotten it led me to everything? I mean, probably. I was getting ready to get into it, but I remember how striking Dr. Stretchapul's was, though, when I first saw it. And I was like, okay, that's got to be the piece that finally brings me into it, because it's just it's so awesome, and it's a lot of fun. And that piece of memorabilia I talked about earlier, the concept drawings or the engineering drawings, whatever you want to call those, the frame ones that Lemax sent, it's a treasured possession that I have, and the coolest piece of memorabilia that I have, and I always have it on display. Yeah, guys, I'm just very nostalgic about Dr. Stretchapul's Torture Factory, but I have to say, even putting the nostalgia aside, which I think I can do that at least somewhat here, this is one of the great pieces of all time. I mean, I really have two pieces. You know, I go back and forth between this. Now that have one, I haven't seen one of these in person for a couple of years, so having this here like really refreshes my memory. But of course, the Mad Pumpkin Patch I say is my favorite, and that one I'm going to stick with that because I love pumpkin patches so much, and that piece was important to me for different reasons. But outside of that, I would say Dr. Stretch and Pull is like 1B as far as my favorite pieces go. They're both fantastic, and they were both important for Lemax Spooky Town for different reasons. Again, this piece is one of the ones that really kicked everything off for Lemax Spooky Town in 2004. You had the Isle of Doom, you had the Witch's Lair was that year. These are some all-time classic pieces that so many collectors talk about. Of course, I wasn't in the hobby back then, but I can only imagine what it would have been like to walk into the store and see some of these monsters, these all-time classics there, just really crazy. Lemax was really, really cooking back then, and they had so many good years that really kind of launched everything of the fandom around it. You know, I don't think without buildings like Dr. Stretch and Pull's Torture Factory, there'd be the fandom that there is around Lemax Spooky Town. So anyways, guys, I am kind of rambling here. I hope you guys appreciate it. You know, I get nostalgic looking at this too, just because of all the pieces, again, that I've talked about, 150 plus Lemax Spooky Town pieces. And I want to thank you all so much. You know, as next year is going to be my 10th year doing this. And when I set out to do this, I did it because I was annoyed at the time that there wasn't really a good spot to see what some of these buildings look like lit up. And given how expensive they were, that was frustrating to me. So that's always been the goal of this channel, is to show what these pieces look like lit up. And, you know, I've become friends with a lot of you folks. And again, a lot of that, the friendships that I have with people, I can kind of trace back to Dr. Stretch and Pull's Torture Factory. So I don't know what else to say about it, guys. So I guess I won't. So thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you to Kelly for loaning me this piece. And thank you, as always, for the likes, the subscribes, the comments. I appreciate it all. Here is Dr. Stretch and Pull's Torture Factory with the lights and sound.
Don't be shy. Come in. Welcome to Dr. Stretch and Pull's Torture Factory, where we love to help with you in shape. Come see our new cutting-edge guillotine. It's most definitely ahead of its time. And are you stressed from being chained to that 9-to-5 job? Then get our complete deep tissue body massage to get the kinks out. We've found that the best way to beat the daily grind is with a little grind and unwind. And to help bring a broken smile to your face, we even have an uncertified dentist on staff. Do you find that shocking? Please, don't be shy. Come in. Welcome to Dr. Stretch and Pull's Torture Factory, where we love to help whip you into shape. Come see our new cutting-edge guillotine. It's most definitely ahead